Kind of make their way to their seats, and we'll go and get started. So I want to start off with just a little bit of vulnerability tonight. This is actually a really special opportunity for me. The things we're going to be talking about tonight are things that are I'm very passionate about, and I've put a lot of the last probably 4 or 5 years of my life have been dedicated to better understanding these principles. So it means a lot that you guys would be here to allow me to share that, and it means a lot that that you guys have interest in learning the things that I've been learning along the path. And I don't consider myself to be, you know, an expert entirely. You know, that there's a lot of things that you guys might know about this content that I don't, and there's a lot of people that have a lot more expertise than I do. But I'm bringing something special to the table, and that is that from the first moment that I started learning about international development work and poverty alleviation, I knew that it just wasn't quite right. I knew that there were some things that needed to be changed, and needed to evolve, and needed to be able to be shifted in a positive direction. And so from the first moment that I was involved with community development programs, with volunteer training and volunteer tourism, I had this very aggressive desire to figure out how to do it better. And so I layered on top of my experience what I'd learned in anthropology and in psychology and in behavioral science study, or behavioral studies, and spirituality and philosophy and a lot of other principles. And so what I've kind of been able to come to is through my experience and through my study, what I've learned about these topics, and then looking at them through a bunch of different lenses, figuring out how to be able to even deepen our understanding of A, what the problems are, and then once we understand the problems, we can look at the solutions. In fact, there's a quote that my friend Brianna told me a bit ago that I've used in a couple different presentations, and it's, a problem well enough understood already has a solution. And I really love that. And so tonight we're going to dive into some problems. In fact, 2/3 of this presentation is all going to be about problems. But I'm a very optimistic person. I'm a very solutions-oriented person. And so I'm not trying to delve into the problems just for the sake of saying, hey, we have a problem. But the better that we understand what the nature of the problems are, the better that we become positioned as global change makers to be able to address those problems head on and be able to innovate and implement positive solutions moving forward. So let me just real quick kind of make sure we're all on the same page here. How many of us are familiar that we've got approximately 2 billion people in our human family that are living in extreme poverty? I'm kind of familiar with that fact, right? We're not all equal as far as resources goes. And how many of us are, you know, kind of would like to feel that we as wealthy countries and as wealthy citizens of this world, that there's something that we should be able to do to help to be able to alleviate the suffering of so many? How many feel this sentiment? Share it. Great. And lastly, how many of us have maybe heard that some of the work that we've done so far in poverty alleviation maybe isn't quite as effective as we might have hoped it was? Or maybe even that some of the work that we've done has actually resulted in negative impacts. Have we heard this at all? Cool. So we're gonna dive into this stuff tonight, and really see what we can turn up. I would like to thank very much Zach and Lauren, who have done so much to help to organize and coordinate this event. So thank you so much, guys. You're rock stars. I'd like to thank UCSD for allowing us to be here and to use their facilities. And I'd like to really thank each and every one of you guys, because there's plenty of other things you could be doing tonight, and there's a whole lot of people who chose not to be here. But you guys chose to be here. And that says something about you. It says something about your desire to continue to learn, to continue to better understand the world, and ultimately as a potential agent in this global transformation that we're a part of, that you're willing to add additional value to yourself by gaining more knowledge so you can go out into the world and add value to the world. So I'd like to be able to acknowledge you guys for being here, and thank you very much for doing so. As far as kind of one of the things that was really fun, I mentioned that little video that I sent out, that was to read the responses to the questions of the registration form. What do you hope to be able to gain out of tonight? And it's really exciting and also very telling to be able to find out just how many people that are out there that are so curious to be able to better understand what's going on in this area of this industry we'll call international development. And there's a lot of confusion. And I think that we all share some of those dimensions of confusion. And tonight, the goal is to be able to eliminate some of that confusion. And what I wanted to do real quick is just share a couple responses to that question so we can kind of get a feel for what types of questions that this audience has. Here's one of the first responses. I'm currently a first-year graduate student at UCSD studying international development at the International Relations and Pacific School of Study, and have been feeling more and more lost about my career because I feel most programs that work in international development are not actually helping those impoverished, underserved communities. I am interested in learning more about the community-centered approach. Thank you. Number 2, I am interested in working and volunteering abroad sometime in the future. I hope from this session I can learn how to be an effective and positive contributor to the global community without harming or hurting others in the process. Number 3, I have been a longtime financial supporter of the developing people and communities. I want to learn how I might be able to help on a more personal level. So the folks that are in this audience, you guys, aren't here just for the sake of kind of getting some curiosities satisfied, but because there's some very real life decisions to be made. Career paths, international service opportunities, which requires a big decision and a sacrifice of time and resources, college programs that you dive deep into because you want to be a part of the solution, but you dive deeper into it and you just find more and more problems. And so I feel like this is a room of people that are really looking to be able to implement positive change, and that through this we can all work together to get closer to it. A little bit of my background, about 4 years ago I graduated from San Diego State with an international development type of program, and I started to just travel overseas because I was really passionate about international travel. I didn't have any interest in community development work. But while I was on a program while I was on just a backpacking trip, I landed in a little community in Western Kenya, and one thing led to another. I developed intimate relationships with the people that were there. I decided that for sure I wanted to be a part of the solution, but my academic background was telling me that most of the people that get involved with community development programs actually cause more problems than they help. And so I was thrown in this middle ground where I was like, I am here, I see the needs, I feel like there's things I can do to contribute, and how do I know that I'm not going to cause more problems? How do I know I'm going to actually make a positive benefit? And so after contemplating this question for a while, of should I actually do anything, I kind of had this experience where I was helped to understand that not only should I do something, but that I felt obligated. And that was to be able to start an organization, not that would just do community development projects, because there's thousands of those, but an organization that would help to be able to teach and train other volunteers all around the world how to do that stuff better. And so I spent 3 years just doing community development programs in Kenya. We'd recruit volunteers and raise money and go overseas, and every time we went over there, I would study and study and study and read and read and read and learn everything that I could do, read everything that I could, so we could train our volunteers that were going with us and carry out the most effective programs possible. And in 3 years, I made about 8 trips out there, both Kenya and also Nigeria, and I learned quite a bit in the process. And again, I'm not the professional academic, so this presentation might not be, to every academic criteria, but I am someone that has experience in the field. I am someone that's passionate about this content, and my commitment to you is to do my very best to be able to share this information in a way that's going to serve you tonight. We're going to cover a very broad range of information today. Really, this is thousands of pages of academic material condensed into a 3-hour presentation. So what that means is, A, we're going to be able to get a whole picture. We're really going to cover the full map to be able to better understand this conversation. It also means that I'm going to make a lot of generalizations and I'm going to simplify a lot of information. And I've chose to do it that way because I want to act as a guide tonight, and a guide to be able to show you around this conversation. But if this is something that appeals to you, just like someone who's looking at something and a guide is showing them, you still got to do the work. You're going to still have to do the legwork, read some more of the books, read some of the articles, read some of the academic material to fill in all the gaps. But as a result of this conversation, you're going to be able to step into that study, step into that volunteer work, step into whatever it is that you're stepping into, and you're going to be able to see it for what it is. And so that's kind of the objective tonight. The last thing that I want to make as a disclaimer is I'm building an organization called Chapel University, which is an online education company. It's going to teach volunteers how to be able to effectively do human-centered community development work. So I am quite biased in this presentation. And I want you guys to know that my objective is to be able to share with you the value of human-centered work and to be able to show you many of the negative consequences of some of the other approaches. But I don't want to pretend as though I'm just this academically sound, completely unbiased person. I have very strong opinions about this material, and you'll see those opinions come out through my presentation.